Alright, Beerzerker here, and we're doing recipe off Beersmith, one of them. Is um, this is not this beer. Obviously, this is the shit beer that I bought in a really cool bottle. The beer we're doing is Oatmeal Stout, all grain recipe off of Beersmith. Alright, so just showing what kind of, I had some pointers here on bottle conditioning kind of thing. Get it? Basically getting a waterfall there. Kind of hard to see with this resolution. It's a 650 bomber. So anyway, getting a nice, nice brown head on there. Light brown head. Not gonna see through it or nothing. Yep. The only thing I strayed from on this recipe was just a typical oatmeal stout recipe off Beersmith, and I did 2 ounces of glacier hops rather than whatever they called for Goldings or whatever, and it's absolutely fine. It's not too hoppy or anything. It was a slightly higher alpha acid, but extremely drinkable. But you get those packages of dextrose that my buddies are getting off a beer kit, so I still have them. I think I can't remember how many grams of dextrose are in them, and I'm using half of that amount, of the recommended amount in the beer kits, because tell you something, larger bottles need a far less less of a percentage of priming sugar, and I batch prime, and I've pretty much got mostly 500 milliliter bottles and up. I have a couple 1.5 liter Grolsch swing tops. This being a 650 bottle, I'm trying to go with bigger bottles, and so you need much less priming sugar. Also, it's a stout, so I don't want a whole ton of carbonation in it. And see, I got some head off there, so I'm kind of experimenting with the priming sugar because I do bottle condition, and I don't want to put them all in the refrigerator to try and make the yeast go more dormant or whatever, because you end up with a crap ton of bottles. You're not going to want it to do that. So by putting less priming sugar in, I don't have my larger bottles getting extremely overcarbonated. So you put the proper amount of priming sugar in, and you don't put them all in the fridge, and you're using larger bottles, you're going to have a beer that's way overcarbonated. Just trust me on that one. Yeah. Get some slight lacing in here. That's one thing, I'm not getting a whole ton of lacing the way I thought I might, and the way I have previously um, off this recipe, but I am tasting a lot of the more fresher barley tastes off it, the grains being unfiltered and everything. Uh, you're tasting the burnt grains and the barley a lot more. You're not getting any yeast flavor, the abnormal yeast flavor. This is a Spagnol's US05 dry packeted yeast. Absolutely fine. It's a great yeast. So that might be one other thing. It's not a specialized stout yeast. I mean, it's an American ale yeast, but it doesn't seem to matter. The batch was slightly sweet to begin with, maybe after bottling for the first 3 weeks, but it is now dried out because the yeast is still alive in the bottles on the shelf. And then once it dries out, then the carbonation seems to be much more proper. The head isn't quite as residual as I would like. That's the only downfall here for this all grain stout that I did. But if you're still doing kits, like don't do beer kits. Maybe do wine kits, but not beer kits. Beer kits are the shittiest thing. They're so nasty. The all grain is so much better, but it usually takes about 6 hours to do a batch of all grain, and it's a lot of work. But I got a pretty decent amount of beer. I mean, I got like 23 liters of beer out of it. A pretty kick-ass stout, too. And most of the recipes that we've tried off Beersmith, they seem to be pretty much in line. Like they're not. I haven't come up. I've seen a few. You can kind of tell like once you get into doing this a little bit, if it's a bullshit recipe or not. Like it's pretty straightforward. It's not as hard as baking. I mean, really, it's just barley and a little bit of burnt barley, and ta-da, you get a stout, right? Your mash temperature isn't going to vary that much usually, and then it's just whatever hops you use, which isn't even that critical. But old hops can ruin a batch, so don't be a cheapskate. You may have to throw some hops away from time to time. So quite drinkable. Like could have laced a little bit more, a little more residual of a head. Other than that, I rate off this all grain one did here. And my CO2 is a little bit low, but it's better than being too high. So I'd have to dock a few points for maybe a little more carbonation. Probably would have got a little more lacing, and maybe some fresher hops or some more hops. Even though I went above the recipe, but next time I'm just gonna hop it up a little more because the stout conceals it. You can hop a stout more than people think. That's my belief. That's what I'm learning after this experiences. I was getting told, oh no, don't throw glacier in there. I'm like, shit, I'm throwing glacier in because it smelled. I taste them and it smelled. This is gonna be really good in the stout, so I threw the glacier in. And being more of an earthy or peatier, slightly higher alpha acid, it was much more earthy. So I thought that would be really good in the stout. If I did anything over again, I think I would have thrown some Goldings in with it, like maybe even a whole ounce of Goldings in on top of the 2 ounces of Glacier. This is not overly hoppy, and I think that maybe later at the end, some Goldings or some Glacier would have give a little bit more of a floral effect, and maybe put this beer in a little bit of an outside the box kind of stout, which I'll probably go for next time. Like maybe even a little bit of dry hop in the fermenter, just trying to make something a little bit different. But it's a straightforward stout. Beersmith's a good place to get your recipes. No complaints. I'd say this beer is honestly an 8 out of 11 at least. Not a whole lot to complain about. It doesn't taste weird or nothing like that. It just tastes a little more fresh than anything you're going to buy from the store. And it's more unfiltered, so you're getting a more rich flavor out of it. I can kind of tell the dextrose a little bit. I'm picking up a little bit of, for some reason I can kind of tell that it was bottle primed with dextrose rather than forced carbonated, which is okay. It's not really bad or anything. It's a million times better than the beer that came in this bottle. I mean, this beer I was really excited because it looked pretty kick-ass. The Prohibition, really cool, and it had a really great recipe concept. It just tasted like shit was all. It's like a pale ale in here basically. A slight a bit of redness to it, a slight amber tinge, and it was awful. I have the review. I think I got the review up from this one. This beer is a million times better than that one. So I'd say it's at least 8 to a 9 out of 11, really. And I just wanted this because I talked some shit about some breweries and stuff that I couldn't believe how shitty their beer was. Because there's no excuse for it, really, and this just settles it for me. It's just, so you're getting a two-tone head. Oh, no, it's sunk out of there. Like that's a pretty decent freaking head on there. I mean, yeah, I dumped it in, but it is way lower carbonated than it should be. But back to me talking shit about some of these breweries that come out with this garbage shit that is undrinkable. There's no excuse. It's these breweries could go on Beersmith. Look at a simple recipe. It's just barley, hops, and water and yeast. There's no magic going on here. It's just quit throwing corn and weird shit in your beer. You know, I mean, it's you can do a lot of weird stuff to your beer. I don't know how they're screwing it up. It doesn't even make sense. Look at that. See, the head was even so dense there that the beer coming down the glass is having trouble getting back through. That's always a good sign. See the beer running through. Great stout, highly drinkable, making my stomach feel better. Glad I brewed it. So there's no excuse for bullshit beer. There's no. It's simple. It's easier than baking a cake. I swear. It's easier than. It's like making pancakes. It just takes 6 hours, and it's hard to chase down your hops, and you gotta do some bullshit. But there's no excuse for shitty beer. It's not. It's not right. There's no reason for it. And most stouts you drink are usually pretty good, but I mean, there's a few shit craft breweries out there, and I talk shit and I say, yeah, I can talk shit, guess I'm gonna make better beer. I review it myself. I have someone else review it. They're gonna tell you the same thing. This is way better than what came in this bottle. And so, stop making shitty beer, everybody. Just stop making shitty beer. Beerzerker, and I'm out.